The following may contain language and subject matter which is not appropriate for all audiences. My tongue is very, very tired.
This is really week 2.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again here on the Low Fact Podcast. Dave and Matt, and as Matt just pointed out, Anger Week has extended.
Hard to believe.
But, so we kind of talked about anger for the last week, and I thought that we could kind of finish up with some of the negatives of anger, and one of it being that you're just kind of stuck, not doing anything. And I think anger is something that is used as a tool of manipulation as well. Because, you know, as you said, when one is angry, or when you're angry, you can't really think of anything.
No, you just want to lash out.
Right. And then if I'm using anger to manipulate you, which can be done, we see it in the news
All the time.
We see it in society. We see it all around. I mean, right now, all the commentators are really talking about how angry everyone is and how uncivilized we are. And I feel that that's kind of intended because, you know, if you want to be able to control a population, one way to do it, if you can't turn everyone into a lotus eater, is to make everyone super duper angry.
Or you wouldn't even, you mean lotus, you mean like peaceful?
A lotus eater, as in someone who's just kind of drugged.
Oh.
You know, the opiate of the masses, as the communists
call.
I
thought you were talking about somebody who was peaceful.
No, the lotus. I forget what it might have been in a Greek myth or something, right? Was it Circe? It might have been in the Odyssey, right? I mean, Circe kind of got Odysseus on her island and basically gave everybody everything.
Right.
All the food they could eat, all the liquor they could drink, and just kind of made them, what's the word I'm looking for? Unmotivated, just kind of.
That's actually, I was just reading a book about power, and they were talking about the Han Dynasty, and the guy that actually kind of started it off. And they said he had a meeting. He had a meeting with all the generals, and he said, "Oh, I'll just give you everything you want. I'll give you estates. I'll give you a whole lot of money. I'll make life very easy for you." And all the generals were like, "Okay, that sounds good." And then he didn't have a problem with the generals anymore.
As ways of being placated, I believe that is a more desirable way to be placated. I mean, I would love it if the powers that be decided to placate me by giving me access to.
And you'd be okay with that?
Sure. If someone decided that I, Dave, here on the Low Fact Podcast, was a potential threat, so Dave will be neutralized by plying him with food, liquor, and women, then, you know. Well,
that's essentially what this guy did.
I would be. And
they were all okay with it. Like, none of them were like, "No, I want to be in power."
Well, if the alternative is to make me super angry and then neutralize me that way, then yeah, I would prefer to be neutralized by being spoiled.
That's so funny, because when you said lotus eater, I was thinking that it was some Buddhist thing that you were talking about.
I forget where that term comes from, but
I'm going to have to look it up, Google it,
but
right now.
But it's kind of, you know, it's kind of like the opioid crisis type thing, right? I mean, oh, I'm in pain. Oh, I'm angry. Here, have some painkillers.
Yeah.
And then you're like, ew.
But then you're just a stunted thing.
But you're also just as stunted by being continuously angry. I mean, either way, I think that's a way for the powers that be to kind of control you.
So you think the anger as a means of manipulation thing is deliberate, or do you think it's just something that just kind of has arisen organically?
It may have arisen organically, but some observer might have said, "Hey, that's a way to control folks. Let's do that."
Because I just feel like that there is a very concerted effort.
Because it's cheaper.
They say all the time, "Oh, you know, I understand how this makes you angry. Doesn't this make you angry?" And then they present some more things that make you even angrier.
I mean, yeah,
The
but
commentators, I mean.
but in terms of utilization of resources, I'm sure it's way cheaper in terms of usage of resources to manipulate people through anger than it is to manipulate people through spoiling.
But if you make people really angry, then there's going to be conflict,
There could be.
right?
There could be.
So you don't care about that.
What do you mean?
As long as you're not, if you're the person that's being instrumental in making people angry, then you're obviously saying, "Oh, it's okay as long as I'm not involved in this.
Well,
Then I'm okay with that."
you may have just answered your own question. Maybe the person, the panel of people deciding
Whomever.
that this anger thing is good. Maybe they think, okay, well, these people will be paralyzed with anger and they won't be able to do anything. So, I get my end result. Not thinking of, well, at some point, anger might, spill over to other folks, and they might not be paralyzed. In which case, you're screwed. And I'm thinking of,
But it's not like they
I'm
have
thinking of the
ultimate
terror.
control.
but that's the funny thing,
So they think that they're puppet masters, but they don't.
Well, in your hubris, yes, you believe that you can control all things.
I think, yeah, well, it is hubris.
But going back, yeah, I personally think that not necessarily the prevalence of, but the idea that everybody is super angry and wanting to ramp that up is probably a desired effect by somebody,
Yeah.
whether it be a person or, as a friend of mine likes to say, the preternatural. Where supernatural is of God, the preternatural would be of demons. So it's not natural, but it's,
So anger is evil.
no. The situation where everyone is angry and paralyzed could be considered an evil.
Right.
And because of my friend's beliefs, he does not think that the supernatural, that God would want us to be paralyzed with anger.
You just blew my mind.
I think you just say that to say that because
I don't have anything to say.
there you go. But yeah, so can the state of the populace, this idea that we're all super angry, be a form of manipulation? Yes. Should we try and change that? Yes. How do we do that? I wish I knew.
I knew you were going to say that.
No, you didn't. You thought I was going to say I don't know.
Well, that's the same thing.
It's the same result.
I wish I knew and I don't know is the same thing.
No, I don't know kind of has a connotation of I really don't care. But I wish I knew, I believe, has a connotation of I really wish I had a solution.
So you don't have a solution.
The only solution, I have solutions, but it's not like I can magically spread fairy dust over everybody.
Well, you've already talked about some of the solutions.
The solutions is really incremental and can really only encompass me and the young boys and young men in my life.
Yeah, and there are answers there.
If it's one of those things where if I tell two friends and they tell two friends and so on, then yeah, me being a positive effect on some younger folks or less experienced folks.
The Pantene Solution.
Sure, we can call it that. Either Pantene or Brett. I don't remember what it was. But yeah, I mean, if you can influence positively people that are less experienced in a something, and that takes hold and they're able to positively affect other people, then yeah, eventually, how long will that take? I have no clue. Can it happen within a generation? Gosh, I hope so.
And then you have to have, in order to do that, you would have to have your own anger in check, right?
Well,
To show,
I don't
you'd
know.
have to walk your talk, I guess.
It would be helpful, but I don't know that you can always keep anger in check. I mean, I personally am not, my track record is not 100%.
Well, whose is? Really?
But, if it is meaningful and helpful to see someone trying, if the attempt is beneficial and meaningful, then you should be striving to keep it in check. And I don't mean suppressed. We're not Vulcans, and I don't think suppressing stuff is really very good anyway. But yeah, there is
suppressing anger is not the answer.
No,
because then it's just gonna leak out.
It will eventually. I mean, if you're a super angry person and you're always angry and you've never dealt with it, and
you probably have a heart attack.
All you've ever done is just kind of bottled it up and tried not to show it, then that is a form of channeling your anger, but it's really not channeling it. You're putting a stopper on it. And I believe that if you do that, then the vessel can explode.
Yeah. I like that, and I like that description. That's a really good description of anger.
So I guess we've finished up with Anger Week.
Anger Week +1.
So cool. Thank you all for listening. Please, if it's convenient, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think.
You can comment on Instagram, Twitter @LowFatPodcast. You can comment on our YouTube page, comment on any video we post, or you can email us lowfatpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you very much. Please continue to listen and support us because, the only reason why we're doing this is because people are listening. So please keep listening or we'll just quit. That's not a threat.